So remember, as the key holder to the universe and the IP, you need to lift your head up from your game, pay attention to the marketing materials, pay attention to your game's logo. Make sure your game has a symbol, like the Nike swoosh or the Crimson Omen. It's not an accident that skull and gear are on your chest right now. That was calculated. That's what people get tattooed on their bodies. Pay attention to TV ads, pay attention to the viral campaigns, because you need to be up on all of that, make sure that it's good, that it's getting the message across of what your game is. I want to talk a little bit about understanding the market and the customer. The audience and the market continues to shift underneath our feet in the industry right now. We've seen what's happened in social and mobile. It's going to continue to change as we move to the next generation of consoles. The human mind has been shifting lately. I don't know what's going on. It's like ever since the internet became huge, you get distracted with one thing at a time. We need multiple things going on. There's a book that I would recommend called The Shallows by a guy named Nicholas Carr. And he says that what the internet's doing is we're not going deep into things anymore. We're hopping and fleeting from one thing to another. Like our brains are all very much ADD. And I dub this generation the iGen. It's the interactive generation we need to be touching. This started with the remote control, and now it's just crazy with phones and 3 screens and everything. And our minds need to stay busy. It's not just enough to sit there and play a game. If I'm playing Halo Reach and I'm dead for a few seconds, I'm checking Twitter. Or I'm checking Facebook, I'm doing something. I have to be doing something always, or I'm completely bored. So the one-track mind is dead. You look at this on CNN, the American News Channel Network. I should have enlarged this a little bit. It's not enough to have a pretty lady talking. You need to know that it's live right now. You need to see what's coming up in the bottom right. You need to see that there's 24 seconds, that there's a fire burning. You need to see the time. You see stock tickers. You need to see everything else that's going on. And even then, when this is on in the background, you're still checking your fucking phone. Our minds need this stimulation now. He was a game designer and build games for it. This is my favorite image of where we're moving towards. There's a Mike Judge film. He's the guy who did Office Space. It's called Idiocracy, in which this guy's entertainment, which he's watching a TV show about a guy getting hit in his testicles over and over again, while he has all the spam and entertainment around him, because it seems as if this is where the world is sometimes moving towards. So who is this generation? It's not just kids anymore. It's anybody who's born today. I'm 36 and I'm in this generation. I know 40-year-olds who are doing it. Your mom is on Facebook now, posting awkward comments. My favorite thing to do is to tweet the American Super Bowl. Every year I sit there and I make fun of the commercials, I talk about everything that goes on, and what we have is live entertainment events where people are reading the live feeds. The MTV Movie Awards had a Twitter wall on it, where they're posting people's tweets. G4 knows this and E3, they do it. This whole you texted, we'll air it. TV is boring, you want to interact with it now. It all started with the remote control, guys. So this is a news story from theonion.com, one of my favorite websites. It's a parody news source. And it says 90% of waking hours are spent staring at glowing rectangles. And have the guy here who's watching like Leno or Fallon or Kimmel, and he has his laptop open in front of him while he's checking his phone. So think about it now. From the moment you get up to the moment you go to sleep, you're pretty much staring at a glowing rectangle. There's a journalist that I know, Jeff Keighley, you might know from Game Trailers, who's famous for this. He is my age. I've known him since I was a teenager. And he will sit there on his BlackBerry emailing somebody, and you look at him and you assume he's being rude. You're like, Jeff, I'm right here. Can you maybe pay attention to me? Did you hear the last 3 sentences that I said? He will put down his phone and he will repeat exactly what you said verbatim, because his brain is trained to multitask now, as is this upcoming generation. So how do you, as a creative, adjust to this? You need to make a universe that's friendly and open to it. Assassin's Creed did an outstanding job of this when they had their Facebook game that tied into the universe. If you are a designer in the future and you want to tie into this, think about split screen in a different way. It's not just 2 rendering views. Think about a game that, when you're playing on your screen, you can do something with your iPhone, your BlackBerry, your Droid, and actually affect the game. So if I'm sitting here playing a safe cracking game where I'm a thief, my fiance can sit there on her iPad and be like, hey honey, would you unlock this door for me? And she's like, hang on, I get on Facebook. Okay, I unlocked the door for you, thank you. Or you can take your phone or your iPad to the pub or to the coffee shop and keep playing the game. It's across all these devices with co-op, with asynchronous play, whereas I can unlock something in a game and send it to my friend who's in the pub, and he can then send it back. So the game is always with you, and those who figure this out will be the ones who profit in the future and manage to succeed in this distracted world in which we live. So how do you keep the iGen? Well, first off, one thing we've learned from Zynga and the various social games out there is you need to be surgical about how you build your game and how you keep people playing your game. You need to be devious about it. In Gears of War 3, if you played the beta, you'll notice if you play a couple matches, suddenly a little extra experience point thing pops up. Ooh, continued play bonus. So once you quit the game, that goes away. So that was put there deliberately to keep you playing the game until the sun comes up. So you don't want to quit. Man, I'm getting extra XP because I've been playing the game longer. Why would I do this to get you to come back to it? They had resting bonuses, things like that. Reward early and often. profit, all these ribbons that have been happening, all these coin drops that happen with these games. You know, you want a game to be challenging, but you want the player to start feeling the rewards early, they can get the XP, get the boom, level up, all these things, unlocking weapons, weapon skins, keep rewarding him, keep that dopamine response happening in his brain. So, I'm not even going to go into freebie and snack game because there's enough conferences about that. Let's talk about platforms real quick and understanding where this market is and where it's going. I borrowed this slide from Tim Sweeney, and this is 2002. Okay, you know, we have a handful of platforms in 2002. That was manageable back then. And now you look at 2012, holy shit. Like, what is going on here? We have everything from Kinect to Move to Vita to 3DS, iOS devices, phones, PC still. It's all over the board right now. And what has happened here is this is essentially the Wild Wild West right now. It's anybody's game, whereas a little game from Sweden could suddenly become a 100 million install game about fleeing birds, which is one of my favorites. But I'm like, what is going on right now? So the thing to keep in mind though, is that the market's shifting, but AAA still very much has space here. So I want to talk about the future of building the IP for it a little bit, anticipate the shifting market as a creative, and build worlds for it. AAA games aren't dying. This is Mark Rain, he's our VP of marketing, he likes to say. It's not dying, it's going everywhere. That's why we did Infinity Blade. It was to show that iOS games don't have to just be simple graphics that are cel-shaded in 2D. You can do a game that looks like an Xbox 360 on an iPhone, on an iPad, and bring that kind of AAA experience to mobile. Once people get used to a certain standard of graphics, it's really hard to go back. And remember, just because we have all this growth in social doesn't mean that Gears of War 3 is going to come out and sell millions of copies, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is going to come out this holiday, it's going to do gangbusters. There's still plenty of room for AAA. But if you want to survive in AAA, the biggest thing I always love to tell people is to make games that gamers marry, not games that they date. You need to make a game that's massively multiplayer, like WoW, or make a game that's deep multiplayer, like Halo, Gears, Call of Duty. Massively single-player games is the term we like to use. You look at Fallout and Red Dead, some of these games also have multiplayer now. Games that take 60, 80, 120 hours to play. Big $60 day one experiences. Learn from what they're doing in social, and keep in mind that the future often is going to be hybrids. Borderlands is one of my favorite games recently, because if Borderlands was just released as a shooter without any of the RPG elements, it would have just been rented and would have sold 4 million copies. But Randy Pitchford and the crew at Gearbox knew that. They put in deep RPG elements and made the game take dozens if not more hours to get through. So I like to refer to this as the middle class game being dead. If you're making a game that's a 6 or 7 hour shooter, nobody's going to buy it, they're going to rent it. So we have this whole boogeyman that's happening, especially in the States. I'm not sure how big it is over here, where we have used games and rentals. And everybody's really terrified of this in the industry. The way that I see it now is if I'm going to go see a movie, I want it to be an event movie. I want it to be Avatar, or Hangover 2, or just something huge. I'm going to go see Captain America. If it's just kind of like a mid-range movie, I'm going to rent it. Sorry. I'm going to rent it, or I'm going to stream it online. Or if it has to be a super indie film, like Black Swan, very unique, Darren Aronofsky, Natalie Portman, Mila Kunis kissing, I will go see that. Everything else, I will rent and stream. It's the same with games. You have a very cautious consumer after the global economic crisis. Whereas again, $60 US is a lot of fucking money when you're 16 years old, man. So you have all these things that people are using, these terms of day one rental, and in the US we have these rental boxes called Redbox and Gamefly, where you can have the game sent to you. If I was 16, I would be using the hell out of these because I wouldn't be spending $60 day one. It just doesn't make sense for a lot of these younger gamers. So what can we do to fix this as game creators? First off, once we get fully connected, once we have fully internet connected consoles, things like Steam, by the way, Steam is fully connected on the PC. Piracy goes down, you can have a connected game. Valve knew this years ago. Gabe was very smart about this. I personally will only go to the actual store now for clothing so I can try it on, or food. Everything else I buy online. I buy toilet paper online. That's how lazy I am. I don't want to actually go to the store and be seen, because you carry toilet paper, you're like, hey, what's up? I got toilet paper. It's not worth the effort, it's not worth the time. So I want a fully connected console next, because if you think about it, our phones are fully connected. So that's where we need to continue to evolve to. So you need to have an internet connection to actually have a console. So keep in mind, in this connected world, if you're a game developer, your competition isn't just other video games. It's all these online brands that are killing it lately. You're competing with the feed that everybody is addicted to. The world needs this feed of news. I learned about celebrity deaths via social networking the day before I ever hear CNN talk about it. So what can you do? You can have real-world games, augmented reality things in order to get people interested in the world, where you tag different locations, things like that within your game. You can put the feed in the world, whereas I have a game that takes place in New York City, and if I go to Times Square, all my friends' tweets can show up in a ticker. So I'm not checking my phone to read their tweets, I'm actually seeing it in the real world. These kinds of things could totally be possible. We talk about viral videos. Did everybody play a bunch of Red Dead Redemption, right? Does everybody know about the donkey lady in that? Everybody's seen that fucking video. Has anybody actually found the donkey lady? Right? I wager that there's a brilliant person at Rockstar Take-Two who deliberately made those videos and seeded the internet with them to try and get that sort of visibility. So I believe that secrets and Easter eggs in video games are one of the X factors for your game having extended sales, for having a long tail. I put up the red ring of death right here because in Bulletstorm, in the first level, the doors kind of look like the Microsoft Xbox Lite right there. And I was talking to Adrian one day, I'm like, dude, you need to put a red ring in there. He's like, there's no way Microsoft's gonna let that through certification. I'm like, no, dude, put it in. The game came out a week later, front page Kotaku, red ring story. So I'm looking at this and I'm looking at Gears of War 3, and I go into the level designer room and I'm like, guys, secrets, 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 secrets. You need to pack this game, bury the secrets deep, make it goofy, make it fun, make it unique. You're not gonna find them the first time you play through the game. You're not gonna find all the crazy chicken stuff we put in there. But mark my words, if somebody doesn't find it after the first month, we're gonna leak it. And you'll see front page story in Kotaku about some crazy secrets that are in Gears. You're gonna wanna watch the goofy videos and share it with your friend to keep the game selling. So, building IP, building worlds, building universes, it's freaking hard, guys. It's one of the hardest things to do in the world. But if you just do that and establish it, Jade Raymond and Patrice doing Assassin's Creed, Patrice went off and he has carte blanche to do what he wants at THQ now. Jade is basically leading the Toronto studio for Ubisoft. I'm very visible right now and I can do a lot in the industry. I love Epic, I'm going to stay with Epic, but having that versatility is very useful as a power creative. Always draw from your favorite sources, make it personal, and draw from your peers, because you can't possibly come up with every single idea in your universe. Half the weapons that are in Gears of War are not my idea. There are ideas from my other teammates that I harvested and then put in. So you want to build a world and attract what I call an uber fan, a super fan. You can build it in the play space, very wide, very deep universe of Fallout, or you can build it outside or in both. If you look at all the extra things that go on now, we talk about the Assassin's Creed Facebook game, we talk about Dead Space having comic books, we talk about the Gears novels, and even Dragon Age has a live action series with Felicia Day. This is what you need to do now to get people's attention and keep their attention, because your customers aren't just playing games, they're consuming videos, they're watching movies, they're reading comic books, they're doing all of it. And Comic-Con is the biggest testament to this. So when you engage and keep them, be nice to them, listen to them, hear their requests. When I meet people who look at these costumes, look at the amount of time and effort that went into this. This is a labor of love, and you want to keep these guys as fans, not only of Gears, but of Epic, and also of yourself for your career. So, to burn through this real quick, this is a very basic slide. Most new IPs, new worlds fail, okay? But often the best ideas start as a joke. Gears is like, hey, let's imagine if we mixed Kill Switch with Resident Evil. We're like, yeah, that actually sounds like a good idea. Make sure you name things. You have an idea in the industry of things being sticky, things sticking around and hanging around. Once you name an enemy or you name a weapon, suddenly people start using it and it propagates. Once the Lancer was called a Lancer, people started referring to it as that, and it just became a weapon that's in the game and nobody was really sure where it came from. So we went through Resident Kill Switch here. Sometimes the best ideas are the ones that are easiest to make fun of. When we were looking at the Terry Tate Ops linebacker videos, which were the Super Bowl commercials about this big football player who's in an American office who's tackling people, we're looking at that and we're like, man, it'd be great to go to war with that guy. And we're like, yeah, ha ha ha. We're like, no, actually, let's cast that guy. And so now Lester's become this thing. Recent Transformers 3, he shows up at conventions dressed as Coltrane, and we've helped him, he's helped us, and we have this iconic character. And remember, you can come up with a name when you name your world, your IP. I use Halo as an example here. Halo as a video game name sucks, okay? If you were like, hey, I got this game called Halo, I'm like, is this a game like where you're a cherub flying around and you're in heaven and you have a little halo around your head? No, because Halo was a great game that then had a fiction that supported what the Halo was. You learn that it's the ring, and you learn it, and it all makes sense. Sometimes you have to have that kind of other way of thinking about naming your universe in order to clear trademarks, or just to be honest.